Hi, I'm Dawn, and this is where Shabby meets Bling. Sadly, we've had to temporarily say goodbye to Halloween. Christmas will be here before you know it, so I need to focus on Christmas decor. That's why tonight it's all about gingerbread.
This is OMGingy, all things gingerbread, a Can't Sleep Creations collaboration. I would like to thank my co-hosts, Jody from Jody at Southern Seasons and Monica from Up All Night DIY, and a very special thank you to our guest host, Jackie from Crafting in Mimi's World. You're going to find the links to their channels and this playlist in my description box below. Oh, while thrifting, I picked up this little dollhouse for $2, and I picked it up at the cute little place that's only open one day a week here in the town I live in. And boy, oh boy, I would love to go there more often, but maybe it's in my best interest that it's not open more than one day a week. But look how cute this little playhouse is. Somebody glued it together pretty darn good because I wanted to remove all the pieces so I could paint them, but that's okay, we'll work around that. The little doors actually open and there is a patio, I'm guessing. I don't really know what this is for, but I am going to make this little gem, this cute little dollhouse, into a gingerbread house. I want to be able to attach that little patio onto the bottom of my soon-to-be gingerbread house. But as you can see, there is a definite gap there. See that little crevice all along there? So I'm going to use a piece of scrap wood to fill that gap. I'm just going to mark the edges of each of my sides and then use my jigsaw to cut off the ends. Once both ends are cut off, I double check to make sure it's going to fill that gap underneath my little house exactly the way I want it to. Because I have placed the little patio where I've placed it, where I want it, it's also going to leave a big old gap in the back. So I'm going to use something that is the same thickness as that patio to fill this gap as well. And what I'm going to use is this old grungy paint stick. I'm going to do the exact same thing with this as I did with the scrap piece to fill the other gap. I'm just going to mark where I want to cut it. I will use my jigsaw to cut it off on both sides, and then I will test it to make sure it fits properly underneath my little house. Once I know I like the fit, I move on to create a back for my little house, because this is going to be really where all the fun happens, the inside of the house. And it's not going to be a normal house, it's going to be a little sweet shop. But to decorate the inside, it needs to have a back. So that's what I'm doing now. I have another scrap. This is a piece of Luan, and as I say, keep everything. You never know when you're going to use it. So I have my little scrap piece of Luan, and I trace my little house. The bottom is not even because it is a scrap, so I make sure it is even by tracing and creating a new line for the bottom, and then I trace the top of the roof. Just to make sure my lines are nice and even, because there are shingles on this little thing, and those shingles are not giving me a straight line. I am using a straight edge so that when I cut this out, it will be nice and straight and fit on the back of my little house just so. Once again, I will use the jigsaw to cut this out. This is what our little sweet shop looks like now. You can walk right up to the front door, open it, and ta-da! We have a back wall. How cool is that? This is going to be so much fun to decorate. I love me some gingerbread. So our next step is painting. We're going to paint some gingerbread color. Yes, we are. I'm only going to be painting the back of the house. And the color I'm going to be using is a gingerbread concoction that I've made. I have made this paint color by combining 3 different paints. One is a crafter's collection, and it is a chocolate brown, and it is by Hobby Lobby. The other 2 colors are both plaid paints. One is an apple barrel matte chestnut. The other is a folk art matte raw sienna. And these 3 colors together give me what I think is a very beautiful gingerbread color. Once I've completed my first coat of paint, I will set it aside to dry, and then it will get a second coat. Now to paint both of those little scrap pieces of wood that I cut down. You can see how nice and smooth that paint stick is now, ready for paint. I am using the exact same paint I used on the back of my little sweet shop for these two scrap pieces. They will also get 2 coats of paint. I did take the opportunity to take my little sweet shop outside and give it a coat of spray paint. It is just a Rust-Oleum flat brown spray paint, just a flat brown. This is to kind of prep it because it is kind of a shiny surface. A lot of times I'll use the Podge to give everything a coat to take the paint a little better to help it adhere. This time I decided to give it a base coat of actual spray paint. Now I am giving the entire little sweet shop inside and out, top and bottom, not bottom, just the top, a coat of that concoction that I made, that really pretty gingerbread color. Once the exterior coat of paint has dried thoroughly, then I will glue all the components together. The house, the little scrap pieces of wood that I painted, and the patio. I used hot glue and 3-in-1 glue to put all my components together. And now I have them clamped in place for a good amount of time because I don't want this little house ever coming apart. I came across some of this hard plastic molding as a roadside find, a freebie, so I grabbed it, you know I did, and I cut a little piece of it to act as a molding for above the front door. I don't want to see that little window that's above the doorway. I want a big, nice molding because above this molding, there's going to be a sign. So I'm using 3-in-1 glue and hot glue to glue it into place. It will also need at least 2 coats of my gingerbread paint. Once painted, I will set it aside to dry and then work on the design for that back wall of our little sweet shop. This tile image is available on Canva. That's what I'm working in right now is Canva. And I took this tile and I altered it. I whited out some areas that I didn't want there, and then I added different elements like cloves, a gingerbread man, and 3 gingerbread cookies. These tile are going to make up a whole wall of tile for the back of our little sweet shop. These tile images that I've created will be available to channel members this month. Speaking of channel members, I'd like to thank my newest member, Monica from Up All Night DIY. Thanks so much, Monica, for joining my channel. Now it's time to prep the inside of the wall for our quote-unquote a tile. Yeah, it'll be more like a wallpaper, but it really does give the illusion of a tiled wall when I'm done. I coat the entire back surface of that wall in matte Mod Podge. Yeah, I busted out the Podge and we're going to give it a nice healthy coat. I also coated the back side of the printout of my tile. It's going to be a double whammy. I'm going to make sure this thing really sticks well. Once my Mod Podge is dry on the back of the sweet shop wall and on the back of my tile image, I'll set it aside to dry. Then we need to lay some tile because I need to make sure my tile image lays nice and straight on the bottom of the back wall. I am trimming the bottom edge, getting that little strip of white off. Then I line it up at the bottom and burnish the peaks of the roof as well as the side walls. This is going to give me an exact line to cut. You can see how well this works. You just burnish the sides and then you just take your scissors and you cut right along that line and you get a perfect fit. Once cut, we bust out the iron and we can iron my tile image, that is, into place. I really love how that back wall turned out, but it needs dimension. I want to make a counter and cabinets, like a real counter. So I'm back into Canva and I find a picture, an image of a cabinet. And then I duplicate that image and I duplicate it again and again and again until I have a long row of cabinets. Here are my cabinets. Now I just need to create the counter that they will be Mod Podged on. We also need a sign, so back into Canva. I build my sign using multiple images based on the color palette of my tiles, and I create a sign that says Sweet Shoppe. I will print this off on just a regular printer paper and Mod Podge it to some cardboard to give it some dimension. I printed off a variety of sizes to see which one will look best on the back wall of the Sweet Shoppe. Now for the sign that is going to go outside above the front doors. I am using flour clay and my little stamps for pavers to make the sign. It will actually read Sweet Shoppe. That's it, just Sweet Shoppe. I line up all my little stamps to make sure I've got them going the right way, because sometimes, just sometimes, you're looking at them like you would be reading them, when in reality they have to be in reverse, because it is a mirror image. Once you flip it over, you don't want your E going backwards in Sweet Shoppe. Once I get all of my text in place, I will take a fondant cutter and cut around that text that will actually create the shape of the sign. While I'm playing with the flour clay, I create all kinds of other shapes, from gingerbread men to snowmen to Christmas trees, shopping bags, pennants, you name it, ornaments, every little thing you'd want in a gingerbread sweet shop. And shingles for my roof, little cookie shingles. I had to create well over 100 little tiny cookie shingles for my roof. I am trying to replicate in miniature a cookie that I used in my giant gingerbread house, and I'll leave that link in the description box for you. For the tiny little cookie, I just use a little oval fondant cutter, and then I crimp like you would a pie all the way around the perimeter to give the illusion of a tiny little cookie. To make that impression, I just use the soft end of one of my sculpting tools. After all my little shapes are cut out, I will set them aside to dry for a bit. Here are some of my clay cutouts. There's just a few of the shingles. There's my sign, my snowman, and the proprietor of the Sweet Shoppe. These will be window boxes, and I've cut 2 more out that will act as planters for my trees. These will end up being my shopping bags, and I've cut out a little shopper that will be holding that shopping bag. And here I have some triangles and circles that will act as decor for the front of the Sweet Shoppe, and even more shingles. This is the basic pattern that I've laid on the roof with my little cookie shingles. Now I just need to glue them in place. I'm using 3-in-1 glue, and I'm gluing them before they are all the way set. That way they are still very, very pliable. That's the beauty of working with flour clay. Once all 100 shingles have been adhered to the top of the roof, it's time to paint them. Those shingle cookies will be getting at least 2 coats of my gingerbread paint. Also getting painted are all the other cutouts, and if you notice, I do have some extra cookie shingles. Those will be for sale in the Sweet Shoppe. And if you look right here, you will see some little foam details that I've created for extra embellishment on the front of the roof line of this little shop. Everything is getting painted gingerbread. Now for detail paint. I want my little gingerbread cookies to actually look like cookies. So I'm going to try to recreate the flooded technique that bakers use when they make those really pretty cookies. I start with a basic outline, and I'm working on one of my little trees that's going to go in a planter box outside the shop. This paint color is Mossy Meadow, and it is a plaid folk art matte paint. Once I've created my line along the perimeter of each cookie, leaving some of my gingerbread paint showing, I will fill in between those lines until the entire cookie has been painted. Now I am taking one of those little circles that I made. I made some of them kind of thick because I'm going to be making little lollipops out of them. Little candy lollipops. I drill a hole in the bottom, and then I take a Thrifted wood skewer, put a little 3-in-1 glue on the end of it, and I will push it up into the hole that I just drilled. You can see I've already painted that little circle, that little tiny lollipop gingerbread already. I will come back and add different colors on the front, little white swirls, and something special. Here's my little shopping bags. You can see I added a little detail at the top with some scissors, and now I'm drilling holes, 2 holes at the top of each of my little shopping bags. Now in that hole on either side, I will thread through some embroidery floss. This will create the handle for my shopping bags. I have painted my Sweet Shop sign. I left the actual text gingerbread color and filled that text in with Mod Podge. Then I came back and painted the perimeter all the way around all my little text with a white paint. This white paint is an apple barrel matte white paint by Plaid. Once that paint has dried, I come back with my matte Mod Podge and I very carefully add some around the perimeter and here and there on my little Sweet Shop sign, because then we're going to sugar my sign. I like to use sand, decorative sand, as sugar. It really gives you the look of sugar, and it's not glitter. A lot of people don't like glitter. I do, and I'm going to be using it in this project as well. But wait till you see how this looks when it's dried and hanging above the doors of our Sweet Shop. Once I have my sugar the way I want it, I'll set this aside to dry. This sand was purchased at the Dollar Tree, but you can get it nearly anywhere. They have it in Hobby Lobby, Walmart, anywhere they sell floral and decor items. Now for some detail on my little snowman. As you can see, I already painted him with that white Plaid apple barrel matte paint, and now I'm going to work on his teeny tiny little nose. For this, I am using an acrylic paint by, believe it or not, Rust-Oleum, and the color is terracotta. So pretty. Not super bright orange. I didn't want that because it would stand out too harshly against the rest of the colors I'm using in this project. I just make basically little C shapes. A bunch of little C shapes, slowly getting smaller as I get to the tip of his teeny tiny nose. I leave a little gap of white paint showing in between each of those little C shapes that I paint. He needs more than just a nose, so now I am using a Plaid apple barrel matte black paint to create some eyes and his little mouth, just making a little teeny tiny dots for both the eyes and the mouth. And then we're going to make some buttons going down his front. I will also paint a very fine line with this black paint behind each of the little C shapes of his nose, just to give it a little dimension. And while I have this black paint out, I'm going to paint his hat as well, in the same way I did the trees and the snowman body, outlining the hat and filling it in with the black paint. Once my paint has dried, my little snowman is going to get the sugar treatment as well. Remember I said I wanted a countertop? Well, here's the countertop. This is a scrap piece of molding, trim molding from a doorway that I'm going to be using for the counter and applying the cabinet image on the front. But before I can Mod Podge my little cabinets on, I need to paint. I'm going to draw just a little guide, a little line. It's not that big a deal. I just don't like wasting paint. So I'm going to draw a line where my cabinet color, the gingerbread color, will end and the countertop will begin. After my gingerbread paint has dried, I'm going to come back with a folk art matte paint by Plaid in the color of Cloudy Day to paint the top of my counter. It is a very pretty color. Here I have some strips of flour clay, and to see how I created these, you can check out this video. It's a clay stamp in cutter video. I will have part 2 coming to you real soon. But the reason I'm painting these is because I'm going to add even another detail to my roof line. These clay strips will be fascia. It will act as a starting point and a stopping point for my little cookie tiles. Here I have a leftover item from this video, and I don't know why I'm doing it. I'm making a chandelier. You're never going to see it unless you stick your head inside my little Sweet Shop. But I feel the need, you know? We got to really deck out this little shop to make it look the way I want it to look. Those of you familiar with my channel know I have issues. I have to do it. I am compelled. The power of Gingy compels me. Here I have my window boxes and my little lollipops. Now, the cool thing about flower clay is if you make something this thick, like these flower boxes, it takes quite a long time to totally dry on the inside. So all I need to do is take my little lollipops and poke them right down through the top. That's where they'll sit. I'll remove them and paint them, do the final details on them. But right now I'm just creating that hole so later I don't have to. Now that I've determined where my little lollies are going to be, I am going to sugar my little flower boxes. And this time they're going to get a brown sugar. Super sweet. This is a brown decorative sand. Now this sand I picked up at a thrift shop. It was originally purchased by somebody at Hobby Lobby in the his and hers shop. But once again, you can get colored sand anywhere, and I really, really like the way it looks. Once my window boxes are thoroughly sugared, I will set them aside to dry. Just a couple more little details. I have these holly leaves left over from another project. These were originally purchased on clearance at Hobby Lobby, and I am going to paint them to look like the rest of my cookies. I will paint all the green with my gingerbread paint. Then I will come back with that mossy meadow like I did on my trees, and I will hit the little berries in the middle with flamenco red. Yes, it's one of my favorites. You know it is. Once these are painted and dried, I will come back and sugar them as well. They will get applied with 3-in-1 glue on either side of my sweet shop sign.
The newest sweet shop in town is open and ready for business. I'm going shopping. I think you should all come along.
Here's a little reminder of what our dollhouse looked like before it was transformed into this gingerbread sweet shop. I guess we got here a little bit early. The lights aren't on yet, but boy oh boy, you can see how cute the exterior is. It's sweet, and no pun intended, or was it? Yeah, it was intended. I decided that chimney needed some cotton candy smoke coming right on out of it. I used some polyfill and sprayed it with an adhesive and sprinkled it with just a little bit of white glitter. I added a teeny tiny little battery operated light inside to make it glow, like there's really a fire burning inside. Here you get a really good look at all the roof detailing, from those 100 little cookie shingles all the way down to the details of the little foam balls and my fascia. Look at the sign. I'm super happy with the way my sweet shop sign came out. It is frosty and it is sugary and it is yummy. Makes you wanna come on in. Hey, take a look. The lights are on. It's time to shop. But first, let's take a look at some more details on the exterior of my sweet shop. Look at the little snowman. Isn't he sweet? He's been built by our little gingerbread man proprietor. And there's our little brown sugar window boxes with the little lollipops inside. You can really see through the windows to the back counter. I think it's time we take a look inside. Welcome to Mrs. Claus's Bakery and Sweet Shop. If you look up, you'll see the very fancy gingerbread chandelier, but since you can't, we'll just take a look at the counter and all the goodies on the countertop. The focal point is definitely that sweet shop sign, but take a look at the shopping bags and all the little tiny jars filled with candy. You can even buy cookie cutters so you can go home and make your own gingerbread cookies. I just love all the details on my little gingerbread sweet shop, and this little sweet shop is going to fit in really nice with my decor. Thanks again to Monica, Jody, and Jackie for joining me in OMGingy, all things gingerbread. You're going to find the links to their channels and this playlist in my description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, share it with your family and your friends and anyone that likes thrifting, flipping, repurposing, clay work, holiday, gingerbread, and Christmas decor. You can follow me on Instagram Facebook, and don't forget to check out my shop on Etsy. Leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. Ring the bell for notifications of all my upcoming videos. Subscribe. It's a great way to support my channel. Join. It's even a better way to support my channel. But for now, this is Dawn with Shabby Meets Bling, coming to you from the Gingerbread Sweet Shoppe, saying thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.